Good morning. This is Pastor Jason of Kona Faith Center with the word for today. And the word for today is choice. God chooses, God calls. God's word never fails. Romans chapter 9 introduces this idea commonly called the sovereignty of God. Augustine in the late 300s posited the idea of double predestination. God predestinates who will be saved. God predestinates who will not be saved. The idea became foundational to what is currently called Reformed theology. The two current theologians that are most popular that hold this position are John Piper and John MacArthur. One of my commentators, who is a Reformed theologian, states, predestination depends upon your definition of foreknowledge. He also states that the sovereignty of God does not set aside humans' responsibility. Romans 8:29 says, "For whom God foreknew, God also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. Moreover, whom he predestined, these he also called. Whom he called, he justified. Who he justified, he glorified." Now, my current understanding is that God knows everything. In fact, God knows at the beginning of the thing, the end of the thing. It says that in Isaiah 46:10. So if God knows everything beginning to end, then God knows what choices each of us will make at every step along the way. The idea of double predestination, that God chooses without man's involvement or response in any way, does not seem consistent with God's character to me. The God who extends mercy to all, Jesus dying once and for all, Jesus' death being the free gift to all. I agree that God can do whatever he wants with his creation. He could purposely create people to go to hell so that the people he created to be with him for eternity could have a clear idea of the graciousness, the kindness, and the mercy of God. I just think that position does not square with the character of God as I currently understand it. Let's be clear. If God does not call, no one can respond. If God does not promise, then there's no hope. But if it's all based on God's choice, why do we have to believe? Why do we have to do anything? Either you're in or you're out, and this is clearly not what the Bible teaches. The Bible clearly teaches that the just shall live by faith, that we access grace, everything that God has for us, by faith, that our relationship with God is not based on ethnicity or location, but it's based on faith, which means that each one of us must choose by our actions, by our responses, to respond to God's gracious call. Now, God is consistent in who he is, which is the main reason he is so trustworthy. He does not change. If he says it, he does it. Once again, God's word never fails, but clearly, man must respond in faith to God's promises for God's word to come to pass in their lives. And this is actually Paul's whole point in Romans. Some Jews thought because of their ethnicity or because of their own efforts that they were in. Paul clearly states that all sin, wiping out the own effort part of the debate. And now Paul clearly states that it's not ethnicity, but it's responding in obedience to God, in a word, faith, that's the determining factor. So the point today is, let us respond in obedience to God today. Let us continue to walk with Jesus today, and let's do this every day. Let's choose God every day, because it is our choice to respond to his call, in a word, faith, that matters, that makes a difference, that determines the outcomes. The word for today is choice. God bless. Check in tomorrow.